Thank you for 10,000 subscribers. My god, 10,000 is a big number. Like, if you put all 10,000 of you in one room, we're gonna need like more than just like the biggest Vanguard tournament venue. This is gonna end up like a convention. But jokes aside, thank you so much for 10,000. Sadly, it happened a bit like at a bad time because I literally just had my hardest exam yesterday and it happened just a couple of days before that, so I've had no time to think about anything, like any special video or anything, because I've just been studying non-stop, and I still have one more exam, but it's a bit later and it's not as hard. But now I finally have time for, you know, kind of getting back to videos a bit more because exams are finally ending. But again, thank you so much, and like this means so much to me. Like when it happened, I was still kind of like, it didn't quite hit me for a while, and then it was like so hard to believe that it actually happened. So I keep repeating, but thank you so much, all 10,000 of you. Like we're on Dayusha level now. We've got that 10k power. Like this is actually insane, and I'm really happy to be part of the 5-digit club. But yeah, like it's pretty shocking, but I'm looking forward to keep growing more and more and keep entertaining you guys as much as I can throughout the coming years, which I hope there will be many to come. And like today's video is going to be because it's kind of like, 10k is like a special thing, like it's kind of after a lot of work, and it's been a long time that I've been doing this. I wanted to make this video on reflecting on memories as as a Vanguard player, as a card fighter. And like this is going to be, some of them are pretty general that like some of the older players might also relate to, and then there's a couple that are quite personal. And I invite you as well to write in the comments what are your like kind of most fond memories of like while you were playing Vanguard. Like like I'll bring up my own, and then you'll see how kind of like differing they are. And you might have noticed here I have a little addition to my room. So there's this like figure stand. So I have like some like the Figmas. All my Gunpla. There's only a few of my Gunpla. Like they're all the ones that I've made so far, but there's a lot like sitting in boxes that I haven't even started building yet. So I'm gonna fill this up with all of those. This is on my Christmas tree that I need to get rid of, and then there's like a couple more figures. So that's kind of gonna be sitting in the background now of all these types of videos where just me talking to the camera. So it's a nice little addition to my room. But okay, let's get into the actual video before I keep rambling on. But yeah, just to wrap it up, once again thank you very much. I will have some kind of special video out eventually, but I just haven't had the time to work on it now because of just exams and a lot of university work. So I'm gonna go over 5 of my kind of most memorable memories as a Vanguard player, and the first one of which is one that I think a lot of people that have been playing for a while will remember, and it's when like the Vanguard anime has been really important to me as a player because it gets me hyped to play the game. Like, even if it's not being that interesting, just seeing it every week is like, it keeps me excited to play the game, and it's one of the main reasons why I never quit, because the anime is fun to watch. It's not always good, but it's fun to watch. And the one that I remembered is after the original Season 1 ended, and Season 2 Asia Circuit started, then Crunchyroll stopped subbing the episodes. For a good 10 or 15 episodes, I think, the agreement between Bushiroad and Crunchyroll ended to subtitle the Cardfight Vanguard episodes, and then we didn't get subs for Asia Circuit for the first few episodes, and then Gundam Final, you might have heard of him, did the subbing like as much as he could, and then Crunchyroll and Bushiroad got back into their agreement, and then now Crunchyroll's been subbing Vanguard ever since then. But there was this period where Crunchyroll didn't sub Vanguard, and it was like, we were just like watching raw episodes without any subs, and we're like, when will this come back? Like, we literally didn't know if we would ever get proper subtitles again, or we would have to depend on fan subs for the rest of the time. But luckily Bushiroad and Crunchyroll came back to their agreement, and I'm not sure what created this thing in the end. I think they just had a license agreement at first that they would only sub the first season, so then when it ended, obviously they just didn't have an agreement anymore, so they had to renew it, and maybe like they delayed in renewing it or something like that. But yeah, so this is something I remembered when I was watching like the old Vanguard trailers, like of like the sets in Japanese, and then I just remembered this immediately. So it's pretty weird one, but that did happen. I'm sure some people haven't even heard of it. Now another one, which is like, a lot of these are kind of old ones because they're memories after all. But one that I remember so well is the first proper 2012 Japanese restriction list. It's something that like new players don't believe actually happened. It's such a weird one because it happened right after the end of WGP in Japan in 2012, and that was happening around BT08 or BT09 time, so like at the end of the Asia Circuit season, so like when all the first Limit Break cards were like Maelstrom and Azel and stuff like that and Vermilion were coming out, and then, but the problem was that the finals, all the decks were still from the first season. It was MLB, Dragarnic Overlord at the end, and Tsukuyomi. And yes, that's another memory. Tsukuyomi was one of the most top-tier decks, Oracle Think Tank, one of the most top-tier clans in the game for a very long time, until this restriction list. What this restriction list was, is that it made players have to pick 2 cards from a selection, and they can only play 2. What this restriction was, where like you could only play 2 of a combination, was for Kagero it was Lizard Soldier Conro and the End. So you either play 2 the Ends, or you play 1 the End and 1 Conro, and you know, then you can only use the End skill once, so it just kind of killed Kagero. Then for Royal Paladin, which was the least bad one, they had to either play 1 Wingle Brave and 1 MLB, or 2 MLBs and no Wingle Brave. And you know, that's like, what they did is they just played 1 MLB, 1 Wingle Brave, and then they maybe put in like Palamedes and played with 3 Grade 3s, and it still topped. So like it just kind of like, it hindered the deck, but it didn't kill it, but they only had 1 MLB. And then like OTT got completely destroyed because between Godok Ichibiyoshi, Grade 3 Tsukuyomi, and Silent Tom, they had to pick 2. So you either play Grade 0 and Grade 3 Tsukuyomis, you either play Grade 3 and Silent Tom, or you play Grade 0 and Silent Tom, or what everybody else did is they dropped Tsukuyomi, they moved on to Witches and played 2 Silent Toms. But like, Tsukuyomi died. Tsukuyomi just died completely because like, it was one of the strongest decks at the time. There weren't many ways to counter it, there weren't any skills that shuffled the opponent's deck, and you know, it was just really strong because it basically, if it stalls out, it wins because if the player knows what's gonna happen, and then they can play around that. So that restriction list it's such a clear memory for me. I remember I came out of history class, I was still in high school, and then in high school I just came out of history class and I saw it being published and I was like, is this real? Like, did they actually go this hard on killing the decks? Like, it was so weird. I was telling my friends who don't even play Vanguard, like oh my god, like Bushro just destroyed like a bunch of decks. And it was so weird to believe, and I remember how it felt seeing it, and how the whole community just exploded about it. Like, it was really insane. Another memory that I think a lot more people will relate to is the very messy early English release schedule. Like, what happened is, like, if you play Japanese, then the release schedule was fine. It was like BTO1, BTO2, BTO3, BTO4, BTO5, BTO6, and so on. Like, it was always like just regular. In English, however, we had BTO1 with the 2 first trial decks, then it was BTO2, then it was BTO6, so it was like BTO2 to BTO6, and then we had EBO3, which is the one on the poster there with Spectral Duke. Then we had BTO3, so we had Extra Booster 3 and then BTO3, which gave us our full first Pale Moon Dark Regular stuff. Then we had BTO7, which gave more Pale Moon and Dark Regular stuff. And then I believe it was Extra Booster 2 with Divas. And then I believe, was it before BTO4 or after BTO4 that Divas came out, and then BTO4 happened somewhere around there? And then I can't remember if it was BTO5 and then Comic Booster or the other way around, but it was really, really messy and it was completely just irregular. And then it still went on for a bit because like then we got BT11 before BT10. That was another weird thing. And then I think the more recent ones are like the version E, BT16, BT17, but those were kind of a bit more regular. And another one like that's pretty recent is like the Genesis and Shadow Paladin extra boosters at the end of like during Legion era. So those also released a bit like off time release. So it was like English release schedules have always been messy until recently with like G, where it's been completely like stable, and we only get a few little mission matches with Token Ranbu because of licensing issues, but that's about it. So it's something that I remember was so like, it was so different from the Japanese players, and that's why a lot of Japanese players don't take English players seriously, because it's like, oh, they have this like weird mishmash. Because like back then, to us, Spectral Duke was the strongest deck. They were like, how can you take Spectral Duke seriously when you have the end? But we didn't have the end. So, you know, and then when the end released for us, like, he was good for some time, but then we got other stuff that was already better than him, so it's kind of just like jumping around all the time. And now, two more memories, and these are both quite personal ones. So I don't want to take too long telling these, but they might take a while. The first one is Team League 2013 semifinals for regionals in Dusseldorf. So Team League in 2013 was quite successful for me and my team, because we went to one-shot qualifier and won it in Belgium. I think it was in Leuven. And then we went to another shop qualifier in Brussels, and we did okay, but we didn't top. We just wanted to see how we're doing as like a preparation for regionals. So like we qualified from a shop, and then we went to regionals. I played throughout the whole tournament. I played the old shadows of like the BT05 shadows, and then my teammates, Nelson, who you often see, he always switched. He played MLB for the shop qualifier, I believe. And then for regionals, I'm trying to remember, but I think it was also MLB. And then our third teammate was Stuart Almeida, who was 2013 world champion, and he played, God, I'm trying to remember what he played in shop qualifier. I think it was Kagero, I'm not sure. But for regionals, he played Vermilion. I remember that perfectly. And then basically, like, we went into regionals, and me and Nelson were winning a lot of games, and then until top cut, and then in top cut, we got through like the Swiss rounds. Then we got into top cut, and in top cut, then Stuart was kind of carrying us a bit, and then we made it to semifinals. And semifinals, that game was like, if you win semis, you go into finals, and then both finalists go to England for the Team League finals. And we just needed one game. So then it was like, we were sitting as a team, and I was playing against Christopher Furnow's team, and my opponent was playing Aquaforce, like the BT08 Aquaforce, and then Nelson was playing against Furnow, I believe, and then Stuart, I don't remember what deck he played against, but he won his game, but Nelson lost his game, and then it all went down to me. And it was like, oh my god, this game still stays in my memory for life, because I was on Phantom Blaster Overlord, and then I had enough Counterblast. I had 4 open Counterblast, and I had about, like, I could afford to sack 6 units, and I had a Phantom Blaster Dragon in hand. What I did is that I called everything and just attacked, and lost, because, like, I also knew how much shield my opponent had. I knew that, like, and then, like, after he showed me his top checks, and I would have won because he couldn't heal enough. And what I should have done, instead of calling everything attacking, is ridden the Phantom Blaster Dragon, and used his skill twice to gain 20k and 2 crits and attack. He couldn't guard it because I knew his hand. After he showed me, he wouldn't be able to have guarded it, and I would have won because he wouldn't have taken enough. He wouldn't have healed enough to survive, and we would have gone to finals. Like, after that game, I was so bummed. Like, we got 3rd place, but I was so bummed. Like, it was just so bad. Like, that's like my highest finish ever in Vanguard. It was like 3rd place regionals in Team League 2013, but god, it was such a bummer then. Like, I remember an hour after the game finished, I worked out what I could have done to win, and I still remember it to this day. Like, it's been 4 years, and I still remember it. Like, it's pretty crazy, and like, it's the most memorable game I've ever had. People ask me, like, oh, what's your best memory? Like, what's the memory you know best for Vanguard? Like, that's literally the one, because I just remember that game perfectly, and it's like, no other game has made me so, like, frustrated and excited and everything, and like, thinking back at it, it's just so weird. But yeah, that's the most memorable game I've ever had, honestly. But I'm looking forward to having more like those in the future, and it's just so nice to think about. The final one, hopefully you don't hit the 20-minute mark, is again a pretty personal one, and this is the discovery of my locals here in Luxembourg. So when I started Vanguard, it was in 2012. Well, I started Vanguard in 2011 December. So it was right after BTO4 released in Japan. So Vanguard wasn't out in English yet. And then the first trial decks came out, and I picked up the Blaster Blade trial deck, and my little brother picked up the Draconic Overlord one. And then we just played with our trial decks every day, honestly. We just played. And then we didn't enhance our decks or anything because we didn't buy packs, because we didn't know where to buy them apart from online, because we didn't know about any card shops near us. And then they announced the World Championships for 2012, and I was like, oh, there's one in Paris, so like, I'll go there, ask my dad to drive me or something. But then I was like, and then the Spectral Duke stuff was coming out soon, so I was like, I'll just buy boxes and build that. But I didn't really know anything about deck building. I was just having fun with the game. Like, I didn't know anything about like a meta or anything. Like, I was such a scrub, honestly. I was such a scrub. And then one day I was like, it's weird that we had like this one shop, which wasn't a card shop, it was a manga shop. It was just like full of manga, but they sold card games. Like, I always bought Magic the Gathering, I bought Pokemon from them, I bought Yu-Gi-Oh from them. So they were always like kind of like my provider of card game goods. So I checked them and they didn't have Vanguard. And I was like, oh man, like, I literally can't buy Vanguard in Luxembourg, like, this sucks. And then I was like, you know what, I'll Google, like, somehow it popped in my mind to Google Cardfight Vanguard Luxembourg, maybe there's something. And then I found one website of this shop, which is Caverne de Comblain, and they have branches in Metz and Nancy, but they used to have a branch in Luxembourg before it shut down, so I don't actually have a locals anymore. But then I found their branch in Luxembourg, and I went there, and I remember I walked in and I was like, oh my god, there's BTO 6-packs hanging on the wall, there's Vanguard posters everywhere. Like, I was going with my friend, like, dude, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, they have Vanguard in Luxembourg. I was like exploding. And there was one guy who, I don't know if he plays anymore, but he was playing Grand Blue, and he was like the first person I played with, and I just had like my trial deck, and then like I bought my first packs, and there were like just a few like BTO 6-packs, and I pulled a Kirio, which was like the Angel Feather triple rare back then. And like I was like so happy that I found Vanguard locally. It was so insane. And like, if it wasn't for that card shop, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be making YouTube videos right now, because the people that I met there, and then the people that I met because of going there, like, you know, I met the people in the card shop that became a good friends, like Nelson, my teammate. I met him through the card shop, you know, like I wouldn't know him if it wasn't for that shop. And like, then I learned how to get better because we had really good players in our shop, and then, you know, I kept building new decks, and then like all of that kind of piled up, and then we went to regionals together and it was fun, and we went to team league together and it was fun, and I met so many people at regionals and at team league, and all the people that I know is just people I keep meeting at events and tournaments, and it's all thanks to that card shop that I made the first step and went there. And it's just the fact that I went there is such a, like, it's a memory that holds so dear to me, and it's sad that the card shop shut down, and I'm waiting for the next card shop to be open in Luxembourg because we are getting a new one. But it's just like the fact that I found that card shop is like a blessing, and it's all because of that. Like, in the end, it's because of that I'm here, because I wouldn't be making videos about Vanguard because there was no reason for me to care too much about Vanguard. Like, it was a fun game and I enjoyed the anime, but there would, like, I wouldn't be as committed as I've been these last 5 years if it wasn't for that card shop. So, you know, it's a blessing that I found it, and I'm really, really always grateful, and it's like one of my most cherished memories, really, you know. And like, what pushed me to make videos in the end was just because I enjoyed the game, and it's because of the card shop that I enjoy the game so much. So yeah, like, that's kind of my dearest memory. So that's, yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know in the comments what your dearest memories that go inside alongside Vanguard are. It's like whether they're like games or like just something that happened because of the game or something like that. So let me know in the comments, because I do like reading through these, because usually it's something that is really meaningful and it's nice to read through. So let me know what you guys think, and once again, thank you so much for 10K subscribers, and I'll see you guys next time.